Billy, let's bring in our next guest, Jerry Mitchell. How's it going,
Hey,
Jerry? Good to see you. Jerry, local author, wrote a book, In the Shadow of Wrath, A Veteran's Journey.
Yes.
A Shadow of Wrath. Wow. What war were you in?
Vietnam.
Vietnam. One tour?
Yes.
One
That's
tour?
all I could handle.
Well, I know some people that all they could handle was one. They got another one. So tell me about your book.
Well, the book started. I've always been interested in the Dust Bowl because my parents migrated in Oklahoma. My parents migrated with 4 girls and stopped in Arizona for a few years and had a couple more kids and stuff. I've read in The Grapes of Wrath, and knowing that my parents were involved with the migration and things like that, I got really interested in it. But I found out that they made a decision to leave because of the Dust Bowl and the illness my sisters were going through. And I started thinking, I kind of think weird like you do. I mean, my mind kind of goes crazy.
I'll take that as a compliment.
It is. If my mom, as I was telling the guy earlier, if my mom would have married somebody besides my dad, I'd been half of a different kind of person. So since my mom married my dad and did this, and all these changes have made me what I am now. And I've learned a lot. My parents were farm laborers, of course, and I worked out in the fields until I was 17. And
here in the valley?
Well, yeah, Modesto and Fresno area. And I've always enjoyed writing. And when I was in high school and junior college and state college, I'd get real A's or not. It wasn't one-legged.
You just enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did, and I expressed myself a lot, and it was really neat. In 2012. I found out earlier that I had a grandson in Washington, north of.
A grandson you didn't know about?
Yeah, I didn't know about. Yeah, and so I went up and he graduated from high school in 2012, and I was inspired by a family member to write, because when I talk, I don't go to the subject like a lot of people. I go the long way around, get all the little details and stuff, and she said, "Hey, that's what a writer does," and she writes for Chicken Soup for the Soul. So I thought, hey, so I started writing. I looked up how to write and how to publish a book and all that kind of stuff on the computer, and I struggled with that even, but because I'm old school, and found out, hey, so I started making notes and stuff, and I've got a container about this high of notes, and cause I hand wrote it and then put it on the computer.
Wow!
And I had to edit it and things like that.
So tell me about the story.
Which one?
This one.
Okay.
The one in the book.
I'm kidding. The story is about my parents migrating, and what I learned as a child laborer kind of thing, and what I derive from that is a strict discipline, keeping focused on what I need to do and to get the job done and get it done right, and don't go back and do it again. And my dad said, hey, always said, if you're going to do a job for $1, do the job for $1, and don't cut it halfway off, and don't do a sloppy job and stuff like that. So I learned that. I learned a lot of discipline with my work ethics and dealing with people. And my mom was real outgoing, like I am, more than my dad was. So I learned communication pretty much, in a way. But when I wrote the book, my whole idea was maybe derive a little better appreciation for a veteran and what each veteran has gone through to get where they're at, and realize people who read it, maybe hopefully they'll pick up, appreciate who you are and where you've come from, and because one of the reasons I thought this would be a good deal, the stories was because I didn't know my grandparents. When my parents moved from the Oklahoma Dust Bowl, moved out here, I didn't, they cut some ties.
Right.
And the communication with the family was very sparse. And during my junior college years, I wrote, I like to write letters. I like to write more than talk on the phone sometimes, but I stayed in touch with an aunt, one of my mom's sisters, all through college and stuff. In Vietnam, she wrote to me all the time. So I finally got to meet her in '86 or something, and she was an older lady, and they were old school type stuff, and it was really interesting to see who put a face with all these letters, and they were third grade education, so they weren't really the terminology wasn't real correct and the spelling wasn't correct, and you kind of had to put this word with this word and see what they're talking about.
It says the shadow of wrath, a veteran's journey. We talked about your parents migrating out here, and how does it go into the veteran's journey?
By reading it. No, I'm kidding. The veteran's journey is, like I mentioned earlier, I learned all the disciplines to be disciplined and focused, and the endurance, because I've had to work out in the fields and sweat and all the dust and stuff like that. So when I went to Vietnam, I carried the discipline what I learned, being disciplined and endurance. And
what was your job in Vietnam?
Infantry.
Yeah.
And I learned to stay focused on what I had to do, digging the foxholes every day, and whatever the situation was, being disciplined, for learning what I did as a farm labor kid, I carried over for that, and it helped me out a lot.
Kept you alive, right?
Yeah, it did. yeah, thank God.
Where can people find your book?
Excuse me, they can find it on iUniverse.com, which is the publisher, Amazon.com, and it should be by now in Barnes & Nobles.
Okay. There's on the shelf or .com?
No, and it should be on the shelf, what they were telling me. And maybe if it's not, they can go BarnesandNobles.com and get it that way too. So there was a few other websites, but my mind's only about this big, so I can't remember them all yet.
Any other books coming up?
Yeah, I have another one that's Children of the Wrath. It's kind of related to this one, but it's each of the 8 kids have their own story, and it's real. My family's real weird, so if somebody might enjoy it.
No. All right. Hey, you like live music?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, then I recommend that you stick around after this segment, because when we come back, Sipping Fires here from Bakersfield. They promised to tear it up. You guys stick around. We'll be right back.
All right.